Alright y'all, so I'm going to show you 2 simple ways to do jumbo knotless braids on yourself, or a way to fake it until you make it. So if you're doing this hair on yourself, or the style on yourself, then it'll probably be easier for you if you start off by parting off all your sections first. If you're doing this style on somebody else, it's probably fine to just part as you go. But I have found when I'm braiding my own hair, it is a lot easier if you part off all the sections in the very beginning and then braid all at once. So it's very difficult to part hair on yourself. I had my husband come in and help me part the back section of my hair. Obviously the sections aren't going to be perfect if I'm doing this on myself. I could have gotten my mom to section my hair and she would have had me lit, but we are in quarantine for COVID-19, so this was the best that I could get, and it worked. So just do the best you can. So as I'm doing the sections, I'm going to Bantu knot them off. That way when I start the braiding process, it is easier to keep the other hair in the sections out of the way. So the hair I'm going to be using for this style is from Janet Collection. They did send me this hair and sponsor this video. This is 84-inch pre-stretched hair. They sent me several packs, and let me tell y'all, now is the time to be ordering your hair offline, simply because of the fact that a lot of beauty stores are deemed non-essential, but we still need to have our hair in order. So a little bit about this hair. It is 1B in burgundy, and the burgundy is at the bottom and a little bit is mixed in with the 1B. The only problem I had with this hair is that to get the gradient effect of the 1B going into the burgundy, the black hair, the 1B hair, is literally just shorter than the burgundy hair. And so once you start to separate it off into sections, it really starts to get thin at the bottom, and I didn't like that. So what I did was just cut that excess burgundy hair off. It's personal preference. I don't like a super feathered look at the end of my braids. So I went ahead and did a couple just to make sure these were going to turn out the way I intended for them to, and I have my little one joining me because she would not let me work. Alright, so the easiest way to do this would be to section the hair off your packs all at once, so that you can ensure that you are choosing close to the same amount of hair each time. This is going to ensure that your braids are close to the same size. Then once you have your little sections, you're going to section that off into 3 strands to start your braid. Now you're going to do the exact same thing on the section of your real hair. You're going to separate it off into 3 strands so you can start your braid. So when you grab your weave, you're going to place it underneath your real hair. This is really important because this is how you're going to conceal the knot. Then when you start braiding, you're going to begin to braid over, not under. And this is important because when you're braiding over, you're keeping your real hair showing on top of the weave. And so basically, as you continue to braid, you're continuing to hide the weave underneath your real hair and kind of giving the illusion that it's knotless, when really the knot is just on the underside of the braid. And don't worry, I'm going to show you again in slow motion so that you can kind of get the feel of what I mean for the technique. And as you can see, you cannot see a knot. That's because it's on the underside of the braid. I've seen a lot of people do the feed-in style, and I just feel that that is way more difficult if you're a beginner. And I think it's harder to keep the braid as tight as most of us would like it to be. I don't like to braid my hair super tight because I just don't like all that tension on my scalp. But you can braid it as tight as you want to. So again, now I'm going to slow it down so you can kind of try to get the technique and the feel for it. You want to line each of the strands up, so the strands of your real hair and the strand of the weave, and then you want to braid it over, making sure you grip pretty tightly each time so that your braids look nice and neat and taut. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and mention this because I know some of you are going to ask. That is water and JBCO that I sprayed on my hair. I deep conditioned my hair before, that way it will be nice and moisturized before I put this protective style in. And then I'm just sealing in that moisture with the JBCO. So I'm going to show you one more time this technique because repetition is how we learn, and third time's a charm. And then I'm going to get into the next method on how to do these knotless braids on yourself. Alright, so now for this method, it's very similar to the method I just showed you. You're going to separate your section into 2 small sections. Then you're going to do your 3 strands on one of those sections. You're going to do the exact same steps that I just showed you. So place your hair under and then braid over. But after you begin your braid, then you're going to slowly feed in the rest of the hair that you left out for the section, so that it's kind of like a French braid, if that makes sense. And the only difference in this method versus the other method is that you will not see the knot on the underside of the braid like you do in the other method. And this is because you are gradually feeding your real hair in, opposed to gripping all of your real hair at once, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to show this method again on camera because essentially it's the exact same steps as the other method. I would just suggest that you try both and kind of see which one is easier for you and just go with that one. Of course, if you're planning on having your hair up a lot, you might want to go with the second method. That way, when you put your hair up, people don't see the knots, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to do my entire head on camera. I'm just going to add in this little corny segment to make it seem like I sneezed, and then guess what? The rest of my hair was done. Can y'all believe it? I mean, it's not a YouTube video if you don't do something like that in your video. So my head's all finished. I think I had a total of like 20 braids, 19 braids, something like that. And then the only thing I did was I put styling foam all over my head, did my edges, tied it up, and I mean, just look at that. Gorgeous. I love the way these turned out. Such a good protective style to wear while you're in quarantine. I'm going to show you where the hair stopped on me. I kind of evened up the braids just a little bit. They would have been a lot longer if I did not have to cut the hair, but there you have it. So I hope you all were able to learn something from this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time.